In the annals of warfare, weapons have always been tangible: steel, explosives, projectiles. But in the early 21st century, a new kind of weapon emerged from the shadows, one without mass, without a conventional blast, yet capable of inflicting devastating physical damage. This was Stuxnet, a digital phantom, meticulously engineered to infiltrate, deceive, and destroy. Its target was not an army or a city, but the very heart of a nation's nuclear ambition, heralding a new and terrifying chapter in global conflict, the age of cyber warfare where code could tear down physical infrastructure. For years, the international community watched with growing concern as Iran pursued its nuclear program. Ostensibly for peaceful energy generation, the program's rapid advancements and opacity raised fears of a covert weapons agenda. Tensions mounted, and diplomatic efforts often faltered, leading some nations to consider more drastic measures. At the heart of this ambition lay facilities like Natanz, a sprawling complex deep underground, where thousands of centrifuges spun tirelessly, enriching uranium, pushing Iran closer to capabilities that could destabilize an already volatile region. Enriching uranium is a complex process. Uranium hexafluoride gas is fed into rapidly spinning centrifuges, which separate the heavier U-238 isotopes from the lighter, fissile U-235 isotopes. To create weapons-grade material, thousands of these centrifuges must operate in cascades, flawlessly, for extended periods. Any disruption, any malfunction, could significantly delay or even halt the entire enrichment process. This dependency on precise, continuous operation made the centrifuges both the bottleneck and the most vulnerable point in Iran's nuclear supply chain, a critical weakness that a novel weapon might exploit. As diplomatic avenues narrowed, the US and Israel faced a pressing dilemma. Military strikes carried immense geopolitical risks, potentially igniting a regional war. Sanctions, while impactful, were slow and often circumvented. A covert operation was needed, one that could set back Iran's nuclear program without overt military action. The solution required an entirely new approach, moving beyond conventional warfare into a domain previously unexplored. It necessitated a weapon that could penetrate highly secured facilities, identify its specific targets, and cause destruction without leaving a trace of its true origin. This unprecedented challenge led to an unprecedented response. What began as a highly classified project, rumored to be codenamed Operation Olympic Games, brought together the brightest minds from US and Israeli intelligence agencies. Their mission: to design a digital weapon of unparalleled sophistication. This was not about data theft or network disruption, it was about creating a cyber entity capable of crossing the threshold from the digital realm into the physical, to sabotage Iran's nuclear centrifuges with surgical precision, delaying their progress by years without firing a single bullet. The result was Stuxnet, a complex and highly specialized computer worm. Unlike typical malware, Stuxnet wasn't designed to steal information or simply disrupt networks. Its true purpose was far more insidious: to seek out, identify, and destroy specific pieces of industrial control equipment. It was a weapon purpose-built for industrial sabotage, a masterpiece of stealth and destructive capability. Its code was intricate, containing multiple zero-day exploits, making it virtually undetectable by conventional antivirus software when it was first unleashed upon the world. Stuxnet's genius lay in its precise targeting. It wasn't interested in desktop computers or servers. Its gaze was fixed on Siemens Programmable Logic Controllers, or PLCs. These industrial computers are the brains behind countless industrial processes worldwide, including the control systems for Iran's IR-1 centrifuges at Natanz. PLCs regulate everything from motor speeds to valve pressures. By taking control of these seemingly innocuous devices, Stuxnet could effectively hijack the physical machinery they governed, turning automated systems against their operators with surgical precision. One of the most significant hurdles for the Stuxnet designers was Natanz's formidable security. The facility operated on an air gap, its critical industrial control systems were physically isolated from the internet and any external networks. This was the ultimate defense against cyber attacks. There was no direct digital bridge for Stuxnet to cross. Overcoming this meant the worm couldn't just be downloaded, it had to be physically introduced into the target network. This seemingly insurmountable barrier demanded an equally ingenious, and shockingly analog, method of delivery. Stuxnet's developers solved the air gap problem with a deceptively simple, yet highly effective, method: infected USB flash drives. The worm was engineered to spread via removable media, waiting for an unwitting engineer or contractor to plug an infected USB stick into a computer within the Natanz facility. Once inside the isolated network, Stuxnet would then quietly replicate and search for its specific Siemens PLC targets. This low-tech vector bypassed years of high-tech security, proving that sometimes the simplest entry points are the hardest to defend against. Upon gaining entry, Stuxnet didn't immediately wreak havoc. It was programmed to lie dormant, patiently searching for its precise target, Siemens PLCs configured to control specific frequency converter drives, precisely those used in Iran's centrifuge cascades. The worm verified that it was in the right place, within the right industrial setup, before activating its destructive payload. This meticulous reconnaissance phase ensured that Stuxnet would only attack its intended target, minimizing collateral damage and preserving its stealth for as long as possible. The complexity of Stuxnet's code was breathtaking. It wasn't a simple virus, it was a multi-stage, modular attack platform. It exploited not one, but four previously unknown zero-day vulnerabilities in Windows, alongside two more in Siemens WinCC SCADA systems. This arsenal of exploits allowed it to gain deep access and escalate privileges within the target network without detection. Its sophistication marked a significant leap in malware development, designed by state actors with immense resources and a clear, destructive objective. Stuxnet was designed with a very specific victim in mind: the IR-1 centrifuges at Natanz. These first-generation Iranian centrifuges were known for their delicate operation and susceptibility to vibrations and speed fluctuations. The worm's architects understood that these machines were the linchpin of Iran's nuclear program, and by compromising them, they could deliver a crippling blow. This level of specific targeting underscored the military-grade nature of the operation, moving far beyond generic cyber attacks into precision digital warfare. Once Stuxnet had successfully identified its target PLCs, its destructive payload was unleashed. It began by subtly altering the rotational speeds of the centrifuges. Instead of maintaining their optimal, consistent spin, Stuxnet would command them to rapidly accelerate and decelerate outside their operational limits. This wasn't a constant, obvious change, but a carefully calibrated oscillation, designed to induce maximum stress and fatigue on the centrifuge's delicate rotors, gradually wearing them down without immediate, noticeable failure. These subtle, repeated manipulations had a devastating physical effect. The rapid, uncommanded fluctuations in speed caused the centrifuges to vibrate excessively. Over time, this stress led to fatigue, damage, and ultimately, the catastrophic failure of the aluminum rotors. These highly sensitive machines, designed for precision and stability, were literally tearing themselves apart from the inside, forced into self-destruction by lines of malicious code. It was a silent, invisible assault, turning the very tools of Iran's nuclear ambition against themselves. What made Stuxnet truly terrifying was its ability to actively deceive its operators. As it was destroying the centrifuges, the worm simultaneously fed false data back to the control room monitoring systems. Operators would see everything operating normally: steady speeds, optimal temperatures, no alarms. This sophisticated spoofing masked the ongoing destruction, allowing Stuxnet to continue its work for extended periods, unnoticed. It created a perfect illusion, preventing immediate intervention and maximizing the damage before anyone realized what was truly happening. Imagine technicians seeing green lights, reading normal parameters, while beneath their very noses, thousands of precious centrifuges were being systematically shredded. This level of insidious deception was unprecedented. Stuxnet's ability to manipulate both physical hardware and the digital representation of that hardware created a truly invisible sabotage. It wasn't just disrupting operations, it was making operators blind to the disruption, a perfect cyber attack scenario for an adversary seeking to inflict maximum damage without detection. Stuxnet didn't just strike once and disappear. It was designed for a prolonged campaign of sabotage. The oscillations in centrifuge speeds weren't continuous, they were cyclical, activating for short bursts, then returning to normal, only to resume later. This intermittent attack profile further complicated detection. It made the failures seem like random mechanical faults, rather than coordinated cyber warfare. This long-term, insidious approach maximized destruction over months, gradually grinding down Iran's centrifuge fleet and significantly delaying its nuclear program. Analysts believe Stuxnet first infiltrated the Natanz facility as early as 2007. Its payload activated in phases, targeting different sets of centrifuges at different times. The most intensive period of destructive activity is thought to have occurred between 2009 and 2010. During this window, Iran's nuclear program experienced unexplained, massive disruptions, including the unprecedented destruction of thousands of IR-1 centrifuges, a setback that was publicly acknowledged but whose true cause remained a mystery for a considerable time. The impact of Stuxnet was staggering. While exact figures vary, it is widely reported that the worm successfully destroyed approximately 1,000 to 2,000 centrifuges at the Natanz facility. That's nearly a fifth of Iran's entire operating fleet at the time. This was not a minor inconvenience, it was a severe operational blow, setting back Iran's uranium enrichment capabilities by an estimated 18 to 24 months. The digital weapon achieved what conventional military action might have struggled to accomplish, without triggering an international conflict. Stuxnet's reign of stealth, though effective for years, couldn't last forever. In 2010, the worm accidentally spread beyond its intended target, landing on the computers of a Belarusian antivirus researcher, Sergei Ulysin. Its unusual size, complexity, and specific targeting quickly drew attention. Cybersecurity experts across the globe began to unravel its intricate code, tracing its unique characteristics and, eventually, its true purpose. The digital ghost had finally been caught, and its terrifying secret was about to be revealed to the world. The public revelation of Stuxnet sent shockwaves through the cybersecurity and geopolitical communities. This wasn't just another piece of malware, it was incontrovertible proof that a state-sponsored cyber weapon could cross the digital-physical divide, causing tangible, real-world destruction. Stuxnet demonstrated that critical infrastructure, from power grids to transportation systems, was vulnerable to a new kind of attack. It forced nations to confront a terrifying new reality, that the next major conflict might begin not with bombs, but with lines of code. While no nation officially claimed responsibility for Stuxnet, extensive analysis and leaks pointed overwhelmingly to the United States and Israel as its architects. The sophistication, resources, and specific geopolitical objectives aligned perfectly with the strategic interests of both countries regarding Iran's nuclear program. This attribution, though unofficial, solidified Stuxnet's status as the world's first known state-sponsored digital weapon used for kinetic effects, setting a chilling precedent for future conflicts and covert operations. Stuxnet became an open-source blueprint for future cyber attacks. Its methodology, targeting industrial control systems, bypassing air gaps, manipulating hardware, and spoofing data, provided a terrifying template for other state actors and even sophisticated criminal groups. The worm revealed the vulnerabilities inherent in the very systems that underpin modern society. It proved that simply isolating a network was no longer enough, a determined adversary could find a way in, and once inside, could cause catastrophic physical damage remotely. The fact that Stuxnet specifically targeted Siemens PLCs highlighted a critical vulnerability in global industrial infrastructure. These controllers, designed for reliability and efficiency, were never built with sophisticated state-level cyber attacks in mind. Their widespread use across diverse industries meant that Stuxnet's success demonstrated a systemic weakness. Siemens, like many other industrial vendors, had to rapidly reassess and harden their systems against this new breed of digital weapon, facing a challenge unforeseen in their engineering history. Stuxnet definitively shattered the myth of the impenetrable air gap. For decades, physical isolation was considered the gold standard for protecting critical systems from digital threats. Stuxnet proved this was a fallacy. The human element, a USB drive, a careless contractor, could bridge the divide, turning the most secure networks into potential targets. This realization forced a complete re-evaluation of security protocols for high-value industrial targets globally, emphasizing multi-layered defenses beyond mere physical separation. The emergence of Stuxnet initiated a new, silent arms race. Nations across the globe, realizing the immense power of such weapons, began investing heavily in their own offensive and defensive cyber capabilities. The focus shifted from traditional military might to the invisible battlefield of cyberspace. This arms race is conducted in secret, with nations developing sophisticated tools to disrupt, sabotage, and potentially disable adversaries' infrastructure, all without ever declaring war in the conventional sense. The lines between peace and conflict blurred dramatically. Stuxnet set a chilling precedent. It demonstrated that it is possible for a state to wage war against another's critical infrastructure without direct military engagement. This opened the door to a host of ethical and strategic dilemmas. If a cyber attack can cause physical destruction, how is it different from a conventional bomb? What constitutes an act of war in the digital domain? These questions, born from the code of Stuxnet, continue to challenge international law and diplomatic norms, shaping the discourse around future conflicts. In the wake of Stuxnet's discovery, Iran launched its own aggressive cybersecurity program. The attack served as a harsh, undeniable lesson in vulnerability. Tehran rapidly expanded its cyber army, moving from a primarily defensive posture to developing significant offensive capabilities. This included highly publicized cyberattacks against financial institutions and critical infrastructure in countries perceived as adversaries. Stuxnet, intended to cripple, inadvertently spurred Iran's entry into the global cyber arms race, creating a more dangerous and complex threat landscape. Stuxnet wasn't an isolated incident. Its discovery led researchers to uncover a family of related malware. Duku, discovered in 2011, was designed for information gathering and reconnaissance, likely a precursor or sibling to Stuxnet. Flame, found in 2012, was an even more sophisticated espionage tool, capable of extensive data theft. These subsequent discoveries revealed the true scope of the Operation Olympic Games arsenal, demonstrating a concerted, multi-pronged approach to cyber warfare, with Stuxnet as the destructive spearhead. Beyond the immediate physical damage, Stuxnet had a profound psychological and operational impact on Iran's nuclear program. It instilled a deep sense of paranoia and mistrust in its own control systems. The need for constant vigilance against unseen digital threats complicated operations and slowed progress. While Iran eventually recovered and continued its enrichment activities, the attack undoubtedly caused significant delays and forced a costly overhaul of their security protocols, proving the long-term effectiveness of the cyber weapon. Stuxnet irrevocably changed the landscape of industrial control system (ICS) security. Before Stuxnet, ICS cybersecurity was largely an afterthought, focused more on physical security and reliability. The worm forced a global reckoning, leading to increased investment in protecting SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition, and PLC systems. Governments and industries worldwide began developing robust frameworks, threat intelligence sharing, and specialized defenses, acknowledging that critical infrastructure was now a primary target in the cyber domain. The development and deployment of Stuxnet raised profound ethical questions. Is it justifiable to use a digital weapon to achieve geopolitical aims if it avoids conventional war? What are the boundaries of acceptable cyber warfare? Who is accountable when autonomous code causes physical destruction? These are not easily answered, and the global community continues to grapple with establishing norms and regulations for cyber warfare. Stuxnet pushed humanity into a moral gray area, where the consequences of digital actions became devastatingly physical. Stuxnet's legacy is a complex mix of fear and innovation. It demonstrated the terrifying potential for advanced cyber weapons to alter the course of real-world events. Simultaneously, it spurred unprecedented innovation in cybersecurity, driving research into defensive measures, anomaly detection, and advanced threat intelligence. The world became acutely aware of the kill chain for cyber-physical attacks, leading to a scramble to shore up defenses, knowing that a similar, or even more sophisticated, attack could be lurking just around the corner, waiting for its moment to strike. Even though Stuxnet itself was eventually identified and neutralized, the threat it represented persists. Its underlying techniques and the concept of a weaponized worm targeting industrial systems have undoubtedly been replicated and evolved by other actors. Nations and non-state groups now possess or are developing similar capabilities. The world lives with the knowledge that critical infrastructure, from water treatment plants to power grids, is perpetually under threat from invisible digital adversaries capable of causing physical harm. Stuxnet ushered in what many now call the Cold War of cyberspace. It's a conflict fought not with missiles and tanks, but with keyboards and code, often without public knowledge or formal declarations. The targets are often civilian infrastructure, and the perpetrators remain shrouded in anonymity. This ongoing, low-level conflict has reshaped international relations, adding a complex layer of ambiguity and deniability to state-sponsored aggressions, making it harder to respond and deter attacks in a clear and proportional manner. Every day, a silent, global battle rages across networks worldwide. While most attacks are for espionage or financial gain, Stuxnet proved the potential for kinetic impact. It's a constant struggle between defenders and attackers, evolving with every patch and every new exploit. The stakes are incredibly high, ranging from national security to the stability of global economies. Understanding Stuxnet is crucial to understanding this ongoing battle, as it marked the point of no return for cyber warfare, making the digital threat undeniably physical. The lessons of Stuxnet continue to inform the future of conflict. As our world becomes more interconnected and reliant on digital systems for everything from energy to defense, the vulnerabilities highlighted by Stuxnet only grow. Future wars may not look like traditional battles, but rather highly targeted, digitally executed campaigns of sabotage against infrastructure, destabilizing nations from within. Stuxnet was merely the first harbinger of this new reality, a stark warning of what advanced cyber capabilities can unleash. From an engineering perspective, Stuxnet was a marvel of destructive innovation. It incorporated multiple advanced techniques, from highly targeted payload delivery to self-replication, sophisticated rootkit capabilities, and intelligent evasion of detection. The sheer scale and complexity of its development suggested a team of hundreds, working for years, with a deep understanding of both cybersecurity and industrial control systems. It was a weapon forged not just by programmers, but by engineers, physicists, and intelligence operatives. A crucial factor in Stuxnet's success was the element of surprise. Before 2010, the idea of malware causing physical damage to industrial equipment was largely theoretical, confined to academic papers and worst-case scenarios. No one expected a weapon of this nature, especially one that could traverse an air gap and perfectly mimic normal operations while causing destruction. This shock and awe allowed Stuxnet to operate effectively for years, maximizing its destructive impact before the world even knew such a threat was possible. Iran's initial denial of any serious issues at Natanz, coupled with their opaque nuclear program, inadvertently played into Stuxnet's hands. By downplaying or ignoring the abnormal centrifuge failures, they allowed the worm to continue its work unimpeded for longer than it might have otherwise. The reluctance to admit vulnerability in such a high-stakes program meant that internal investigations might have been delayed, costing them valuable time and thousands of centrifuges, a harsh lesson in the true cost of denial in the face of sophisticated threats. Stuxnet served as a stark, global warning. If a nation's nuclear program could be sabotaged by code, what about other critical systems? Power grids, water purification plants, transportation networks, financial markets, all rely on similar industrial control systems. The worm forced every government and major corporation to consider their own vulnerabilities, realizing that the digital threats were no longer abstract, but capable of bringing entire societies to a grinding halt. It was a wake-up call that echoed around the world. Stuxnet perfected the art of digital deception. Its ability to feed false data to operators, making them believe everything was normal while destruction unfolded, showcased a new level of sophistication. This wasn't merely about hiding, it was about actively fabricating a reality. Future cyber weapons would likely build upon this principle, using misinformation and manipulated sensor readings to further confound defenders, making it harder to trust even their own instruments and data in the face of a sophisticated attack. While Stuxnet caused physical destruction, its broader implications pointed to its potential as a weapon of mass disruption. Imagine a coordinated attack on multiple critical infrastructure sectors in a major nation: power, water, communications, transport. The resulting chaos and economic damage could be catastrophic, far exceeding the impact of traditional warfare without a single conventional explosion. Stuxnet provided a terrifying glimpse into a future where entire societies could be brought to their knees by lines of malicious code. Stuxnet underscored the enduring importance of the human element in cybersecurity. Despite layers of digital and physical defenses, the simplest vector, an infected USB drive, proved to be the worm's entry point. This highlights that even the most advanced technological solutions can be undermined by human error, negligence, or social engineering. Training, awareness, and robust security policies for personnel are as crucial as firewalls and antivirus software in defending against sophisticated, state-sponsored cyber attacks that target critical systems. Despite the significant setback inflicted by Stuxnet, Iran's nuclear program ultimately demonstrated resilience. While thousands of centrifuges were destroyed and progress delayed, the program was not entirely halted or abandoned. This demonstrated the immense resolve of the Iranian government to pursue its nuclear ambitions, forcing its adversaries to continue seeking diplomatic or other covert means of containment. Stuxnet bought time, but it did not provide a permanent solution to the underlying geopolitical tensions. While designed for offense, Stuxnet ironically became a powerful catalyst for improved cyber defenses worldwide. Its unraveling provided invaluable insights into sophisticated attack vectors, prompting security researchers and organizations to develop new tools and strategies. It forced an accelerated evolution in threat intelligence, vulnerability assessment, and incident response frameworks. The very weapon designed to exploit weaknesses ultimately helped to strengthen the global cybersecurity posture, at least against the types of attacks it pioneered. Stuxnet pulled back the curtain on the shadowy world of state-sponsored hacking. It confirmed what many intelligence agencies suspected, that powerful nations were secretly developing and deploying highly advanced cyber weapons. This operation revealed the immense resources and expertise dedicated to this new form of warfare. It signaled that espionage, sabotage, and influence operations would increasingly leverage digital tools, making the invisible battles in cyberspace as strategically important as traditional military conflicts. Estimates suggest that Stuxnet's development likely cost millions, if not hundreds of millions, of dollars. It required specialized knowledge across multiple domains: reverse engineering, malware development, industrial control systems, and an intimate understanding of the target's infrastructure. Such an undertaking could only be mounted by a nation-state with vast financial and intellectual resources. This staggering investment underscored the strategic importance its creators placed on disrupting Iran's nuclear program through this unprecedented digital means. Beyond the physical destruction, Stuxnet engaged in a profound form of psychological warfare. The inexplicable failures, the false readings, the hidden enemy, all fostered an environment of paranoia and distrust within the Natanz facility. Operators questioned their own data, their own equipment, and perhaps even their colleagues. This psychological toll likely further hampered productivity and decision-making, adding another layer to the weapon's effectiveness. It was a silent, insidious war on the minds of the adversary. The destruction of the IR-1 centrifuges, while a significant setback, also accelerated Iran's efforts to develop and deploy more advanced models, particularly the IR-2. These newer centrifuges were designed to be more efficient and potentially more robust, a direct response to the vulnerabilities exposed by Stuxnet. In a perverse way, the attack pushed Iran to innovate, albeit at a costly delay. This ongoing technological arms race underscores the dynamic nature of conflict in the modern era, where one strike leads to an immediate counter-innovation. Despite years of analysis, some aspects of Stuxnet remain shrouded in mystery. The precise individuals responsible, the exact chain of command, and all the vulnerabilities exploited may never be fully revealed. This veil of secrecy is inherent to state-sponsored operations, leaving a lingering ambiguity about the full extent of its development and deployment. The enduring mystery adds to Stuxnet's legend, cementing its place as a ghost in the machine, a silent testament to the evolving nature of power and conflict in the 21st century. Stuxnet didn't just target centrifuges, it targeted the fundamental understanding of warfare itself. It forced the world to acknowledge that the battlefield had expanded beyond land, sea, and air, into the unseen realm of cyberspace. It redefined what a weapon could be and what constitutes an act of war. As our societies become ever more digitized, the lessons of Stuxnet are not just historical curiosities, but crucial guides for navigating a future where the lines between physical and digital destruction are increasingly blurred, and the next threat could be just a line of code away. The legacy of Stuxnet is not merely the centrifuges it destroyed, but the profound shift it induced in global security thinking. It cemented the reality that cyber warfare is here, it is physical, and it is capable of extraordinary devastation. As we look to the future, the ghost of Stuxnet reminds us that vigilance in the digital domain is paramount. For in the silent hum of our interconnected machines, an invisible adversary might always be lurking, waiting to turn the very tools of our progress into instruments of our undoing.